Welcome to MindMakers. I'm John, co-founder and CEO of Delight AI agent from Stanford. On this show, we talk to people who are building the future of artificial intelligence, from founders to executives to technologists who are shaping the future of AI and its real-world impact. Today, I'm joined by Jae Lee, co-founder and CEO of TwelveLabs. It's an AI research and product company pioneering frontier video understanding models and what they call video superintelligence. Jae had an amazing journey founding TwelveLabs shortly after serving in the Korean military, where he was an award-winning cybersecurity leader. Jae, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me, John. It's very cozy here because every time we, have conversation, it's, over Zoom or in the boardroom. So it's really great to be here.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey working with you so far outside of this podcast studio, but good to have you here. Before we go deep into what you and the team are building with TwelveLabs, I'd love for the audience to get to really understand about you better. So can you share a bit about your early journey?
Yeah. So I was born in Seoul, but moved to the States when I was about 10. And my uncle, who's a military guy, he was an exceptionally smart guy. So the Korean military sent him over to University of Tennessee to get his PhD in statistical learning. So ever since I was like 10 or 11, but he was like doing this Bayesian statistics, which was very hot, or not hot. It was like little known, but now it's very well known. And ever since I was kind of going through elementary, I was like peeking over the shoulders of my uncle, kind of doing his thing on MATLAB and one thing that kind of got stuck to me, that got me into like really thinking about what I want to do is like understanding the surroundings. And the thing that he told me about is like, you and I look different. Everyone's kind of distinct. They all think that they're special, but then it all fits into this curve, right? The bell curve. And that got stuck to me. And ever since, I just kind of wanted to figure out ways to find out distributions of different things. So that's like the early journey, and then, really jammed and geeked out on engineering and computer science, kind of focused on learning about, machine learning and deep learning at Berkeley. So like the route that I wanted to take was, okay, go to grad school, kind of follow my uncle's path and maybe become a researcher or a professor. Well, funny thing is like my parents, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like they're very patriotic. They wanted me to kind of serve the country that I was born in. And I decided to join the Korean Cyber Command, which is funny because like Aiden, my co-founder, Dave, SJ, they all had parents like that and all kind of come from similar backgrounds. And that's where like I met my co-founders. And that's when it was like pretty clear to me that maybe like the shifting of this, research being done at school is like, it's like shifting to, private companies or maybe like startups could be a good way to pursue your research. So that's kind of like the early journey where, it's just geeky guys kind of doing the research for military, especially around like video understanding. And just didn't want to say goodbye after the service. And then we kind of decided to start this whole thing.
That's interesting because we know a lot of founders from Israel background where they meet a lot of co-founders in the Israeli army, but I haven't really seen that happen a lot with Korean military because pretty much everyone has to go there. And I don't think Korean military was well known for its like IT, technology side of things. So that's, I think, is a relatively unique story.
Yeah, it's very unique. I think we were super fortunate. I think like 99% of young men that serve, bear rifle and, they do the physical work of protecting the nation. I guess like the co-founders and I were effectively like keyboard warriors. But yeah.
So what's the idea of TwelveLabs sparked during your service in the military? Where did the idea come about?
Yeah, so it was like, I think we got lucky, but also we had this idea for a long time, but we just couldn't like pinpoint it to video. So this was like, so I served like during 2018 to like early 2021. And so 2018 was like after the Transformer paper has come out, and we were very certain that there's going to be a lot of scaling happening on the text and image side of things. And also we've speculated that there could be a bunch of like some sort of like specialized processing units for this special architecture. But like overall, we knew like conquering of the data modalities one by one, like text and image are happening. And it just felt to us that, it's driven by this passion to like push the boundary of AI. But, nothing was happening in video understanding. So we got really into a video because it has, it's truly multimodal. It's got vision, audio, but like the harder thing is like space and time. So it felt like a perfect thing for an intelligence system to learn about the world, right? And then we got lucky because the test that we were given involved a lot of videos. So in 2018, 2019, I think that like the whole world went through this like dark web craze where, you hear about awful content that's being leaked and government documents. And we were given a test to just index the Tor network. I don't know, you probably don't know, but it's like really weird URL .onion websites where you do sketchy things. And we've kind of scraped around like 10 to 15 petabytes worth of video content. And we've realized it's probably not just us, bunch of degenerates trying to make sense of this much video content. It's probably pretty prevalent. And we thought that, this could be like interesting where, we first push the boundaries on the inference and the modeling side of things, but then, managing and searching and doing deep analysis on like archival level content could be a good way to like build a prosperous business. So like research interest and the project that we were given were kind of like perfectly matched. And
You kind of described TwelveLabs as being built on this idea that there's more to intelligence than just coming from text, right? Obviously, the multimodal is your strength. What made you kind of like realize the video, especially not written context, because most of the frontier models back then, when you guys were starting out, were all pretty much based on text-based. So what was that like insight or the moment you realized that the video was going to be a powerful basis for this new frontier model that you guys were building?
There are a couple of different perspectives here. I think when it comes to like learning or building system that is intelligent, I don't think anyone would doubt that like we live in visual world, and this man-made intelligence system should understand the physical world, right? Because like if you think about the only intelligent thing that we know of, like our brain, is built from like even before the concept of language, we were kind of trained on the sensory input data that we gather from like the sight, hearing, right, and touching things, right? So I think no one would doubt that like that, like learning from a perception, visual, is like the substrate of intelligence. Now I think so it's nothing unique, I don't think, but I think what sparked is this ChatGPT came out, right? It's a language model, and I think the industry had to just catch up really quickly, right? Because we were putting language model is the AI that's leading the way, and I think like the bigger players just didn't have time to kind of like sit down, think about things, right? Like we've seen it from things like Bard from Google. So it's kind of sad that we had to rush into this, but also incredible that we have this like whole new industry that's being formed. But yeah, I mean, at least for TwelveLabs, like our philosophy is, language models are effectively learning about the world from like text projected world, right? Meaning like if we were to kind of look at the setup of the studio, the language model is actually learning from like the text description, right? So you would have like paragraphs on paragraphs describing the camera, how it looks like. So our kind of thesis is, okay, language model scaling is going to happen. Someone needs to work on perceptual reasoning, and the two will probably be very orthogonal in terms of like out in the market and like being used to just research areas too. So yeah, ever since we thought about kind of, okay, what is the best modality to learn the world, and it seems like video was just, there's no other data that's better than video, and also there's no shortage of video data. I don't think the biggest data centers that we have today has enough compute capacity to train a model that watches all of the video data that we have in the world. So yeah.
Wow. So kind of thinking about how human beings evolved our intelligence over time. And we have this stereo vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what we see has at least some depth component to it. How are you guys kind of thinking about adding the depth layer to the video, since a lot of the videos we see online are actually not stereo visions?
Yeah.
Is that actually an issue at all, or can it be augmented just using lots of different current 2D video data, or is there kind of like a approach to kind of solving the problem?
Yeah, so I think like there's that spatial like depth component of it. It's something that we would like to work on like down the road. But I think what we're a bit more focused on, given like we serve a lot of enterprise customers around like media, entertainment, sports, and federal, I'm sure we'll go into that, is the multi-perspective of a single event, right? Mm. So when we think about like superintelligence for video, it is really about handling of the petabytes and petabytes worth of archives. And if you want to recreate certain events based on different perspectives, you are able to do so. So there is an agentic system that can help you do that. And the key component for that agent, key capabilities is, being able to map different, multifaceted perspectives into a single event. And right now, we don't have a system that can do that. Mm-hmm. So we're working on building that.
Nice. Let's talk about the use cases. Like, what are some of the use cases you found it to be most valuable, most successful for your customers?
Yeah, so TwelveLabs builds like full stack video intelligence solution for enterprises and developers. So you can think of TwelveLabs as that universal video intelligence layer to build intelligent video applications, whether it's internal use or external facing product. But our gateway use case is search, right? So most of our customers don't really have an adequate solution to make sense of their massive archives. And search, like in order for you to build a compelling video product, you need to do so by understanding what you own, yeah. Right? And I think search resonates deeply. So, we enable really efficient semantic video search for our customers, and we, it's the usual suspects, right? Like the media, entertainment, sports, even ads, and now we're starting to expand into federal. So we think of search as and there are certain other steps that we take, right, like indexing and embedding your archives and then powering semantic search. But effectively, search is like TwelveLabs search is pre-warming the customer's video data into something that is highly consumable by the future agent workflow.
Nice. Rather than kind of using a model off the shelf, you guys decide to build your own kind of proprietary video inference infrastructure and everything.
Yeah.
Like, can you elaborate how you guys got to the decision? We got to build this on our own. And then what are some of the advantages that gives hopefully both to you and for the customer?
Yeah. First, like we would have loved to have taken like an off-the-shelf inference infrastructure and just host our models. But most of the inference platforms are built for, language models, right? So it's this like auto-regressive generation of text tokens, basically. But what TwelveLabs does is, videos are very different from text in a way that, it's people say it's dense, but it's actually redundant data, right? So a lot of like frames are redundant. So kind of like this whole idea of like predicting next frame to gain understanding, it's not really proven out yet, right? Maybe for generating like a 10-second clip, predicting like next frame on like how things should move might work, but in terms of like gaining holistic understanding from video content, that whole like next frame prediction actually doesn't work so well. So we took this approach of, okay, maybe like autoregressive prediction is not, really fit for video. So then how do we go about like making videos searchable is through, turning videos into embeddings, right? And generating video embeddings is different from, PDF embeddings, right? You're not just breaking things into tokens. This required our inference system to also include video pre-processing and indexing technologies that kind of adapts to different types of video, right? As in like, we're not treating every video equal. Like sports videos requires a lot of, much higher frame rate than maybe this kind of podcast video. So it's an indexing system that it also intelligently learns from data that's being ingested into the system, and it's connected to our models, right? And that was the only way for us to do it. And I think that's paying off because we try to keep our models as small and efficient as possible, right? And so there's clearly this need for different or purpose-built indexing and inference infrastructure for video understanding models. And what it means for our customers is we can actually optimize the end-to-end from, ingesting videos to hitting your first search, like end-to-end optimization, we have full control over. This translates to a really large-scale semantic search at a price that doesn't break your bank, right? And this also allows us to build other workflows on top of our existing stack fairly easily, because we're not bottlenecked by other vendors or other inference partners to do the optimization for us, which is very painful, I think.
Can we maybe learn a little bit about the specific examples of some of these use cases that, let's say, media or sport, even like a sports company? You also mentioned federal. What are some of the tangible examples that we can kind of share with the audience?
Yeah,
as long as they're not super classified.
No, yeah, I mean, so for a lot of our customers from media, some of them, we are considered as the whole kind of content management system, right? So we ingest all of, we can take, I guess, this digital streaming platform, for example. They have a ton of original content, which means, they're producing, thousands of hours of daily content. We index, we make them searchable. And this has huge productivity gains in terms of post-production work, right? So you would be presented with scripts, and you would, shoot these scenes, but then assembling a quick rough cut for director's review or getting the executive team's review is a painstakingly long process. And most of these companies have been doing search manually. So you would literally write it down on Post-it, or you would take a note on your phone. Now you have a search system that you can readily use, and it brings up the right content at a fraction of a second, right? And that allows you to assemble different versions of rough cuts incredibly quickly. Now, if you hook that up to a language model or some agent system, right? Some of our customers that we've openly talked about, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, they were able to index all of their archives using TwelveLabs. Now their archive is fully searchable. now they have a highlight generation search engine or highlight generation agents that can make its own queries and assemble highlights for their fans, right?
Like the short form videos.
Yeah, long form to
Reels.
short form.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
But using your own content rather than AI generated.
Nice. So I think a lot of the AI video editing companies should be more either fearful or kind of use you guys to kind of rebuild some of their AI editing apps, maybe.
And so this is media, entertainment, content creation side of things. But like a lot of the things that I've just mentioned about like what it takes to like search and stitch together different scenes to build a holistic story, that is what also the intelligence agencies are doing.
Yeah.
Right? So the things that we do to help customer track different movements or different scenes or emotions, that gets directly translated to some of the workflows that we help power Uncle Sam, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tell me about how ready is the technology for enterprises to adopt it? Can they start to use your technology to look at videos in real time, or how much of the processing? Like, what's the workflow look like for them to actually adopt your video superintelligence?
Yeah. So I would love to talk about what it takes to build video superintelligence. But the product as of today is fully GA, right? We've been in market for some time now. So the workflow is really index and search, right? So our models are the only video understanding models that's available on Amazon Bedrock. So if you're an enterprise with great AWS kind of like partnership agreement or something like that, and you have great compute deal with them, you can use our models and our API endpoints directly from Bedrock. And then we also offer like our self-serve SaaS APIs where developers all around the world can quickly take our API keys and start implementing search. And the workflow is very simple. You point us to where your videos live, whether it's cloud storages like object storage or some other neo clouds. And there's this index API which ingests all of your videos in bulk, generates multimodal embeddings, and we power the semantic search via Search API. And then there's another workflow where you are indexing your videos, and then we are able to also generate really detailed video descriptions based on your prompts and based on your content ontology. So you can use that for summarizing content, but also you can use it to rehydrate your metadata game. We call it like dynamic metadata generation based on different needs.
That's super cool. So you started this company way before I think the whole consumer AI kind of took off, right? And since then, you guys have scaled quite considerably. Even your team, if I'm not mistaken, you have like 70 research scientists and engineers on your team today. What has been like the biggest challenge in terms of either scaling your technology or scaling your team?
We're going through that struggle constantly, probably even bigger. I think when we were earlier, it's really hard to attract really capable researchers or engineers. This was like before ChatGPT came out. I think TwelveLabs started maybe like a year before ChatGPT. So this like notion of spending a lot on compute and training these like really capable models was kind of like foreign, even though GPT-3 came out in like 2020. It was only like handful of researchers and maybe like some founders that are exploring we like natural language processing into your products, right? We don't say NLP anymore. It's weird, but so it wasn't like a like a breakthrough moment for researchers. It certainly was. So getting your companies out there was incredibly challenging, and for us it was really about leveraging like our research network, and then really productizing our research that helped us. But it's a constant struggle. I don't think there's like a silver bullet around like hiring top talents. It's hard work where the founders, the CEO, the CTO, like literally everyone at the company is recruiting. So I would say, scaling the tech, it's challenging. But we've had a clear kind of roadmap as to like how we want to shape the video understanding landscape and what kind of product that could help us do that. Like I think we had clearer view of that than okay, how do we bring people in, right? So
Do you think it's getting easier now that you guys are, getting bigger, more prominent? How has that changed for you?
yeah, it's certainly gotten easier because we have a great candidates that's filling up our top of funnel, which wasn't the case maybe like 14, 15 months ago. But it's gotten easier, but also it's gotten harder because as we grow, we try to spend as much time as possible meeting candidates. And now it's scaled to not just me and Aiden and Soyoung, but to like other, managers and directors. So there are times like, limited, right? So how do we like streamline that recruiting process? And candidates are really good at like doing their resume makeover.
Now with AI, yes.
Yeah. So now, it feels weird, but we do a lot more in person. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think Steve Cohen from Palantir also mentioned he does 100% of his interviews in person.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it over remotely. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the irony is that we're building these AI companies and we're leaning more towards signals that we can't really replicate using AI.
Yeah, it's wild, man, because like we run through, we use language models to kind of feed all of the candidate assignment and their responses and really trying to figure out, okay, like for future candidates, like what could be like an expected, LLM answer. And we have like a repository of that too. But, nothing clearly these candidate does really well remotely. And then when you do an on-site, they just bomb. Like we've seen a couple of that cases and now we are, trying to just, how do we like vet this person like faster, like earlier in the cycle? If you have any good advice there, I would love to learn.
In person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, the struggles we were going through all just resonates a lot. So you kind of like talked about how some of the non-obvious sectors like government and those kind of industries or intelligence industry kind of their demand really kind of seeking your technology. And these are like highly regulated, highly confidential sectors. So what do you think really drove that acceleration of adoption of your technology in those sectors? Could they have just waited?
Yeah, I think overall, this is not just like the government, but also enterprise too. I think maybe, that whole kind of faster, pace, started off with like startups, like smaller businesses. But then, this is like, this technology is just fundamentally, I would say like rule bending tech almost, right? So, it's not just about efficiency gains, but I think, for companies, they see like clear new, revenue and monetization streams that can be powered by this tech. But also government, I think it's also fueled by like our kind of competition with China, where, they are moving incredibly quickly on applying AI to all aspects of their military, and I think like they are focused on that, right? As in like, hey, they don't have the financial structure or the company structure to have bunch of Anthropics, bunch of OpenAIs, even though now we're seeing some of them pop out. I think earlier days, China was very interested in, okay, how do we like conquer the application part of the ecosystem? And, the US government has taken a notice of that, right? And I think, with larger and larger data centers and the movement to move on to like government cloud, like adoption of these models have kind of taken off. Even though I would say we're still in like, early stages of production phases, but even that, like doing like a POC or pretty large scale pilot with government customers is used to be a very long process, but now it's gotten much faster, I would say. And I was shocked to learn that 90 to 95% of like the intelligence work that's required involves like heavy multimodal data, right? Like video. I mean, it's not surprising, right? Where countries like the US has deployed hundreds of thousands of strategic assets around the globe, collecting this visual data.
Yeah. So I guess a follow-up question to a little bit on the government side, like as we all know, Chinese government has been using AI a lot to understand the monitoring, kind of like the CCTV footage of their citizens.
The social score.
Yeah, the social score, all that. And that's like here and now. How do you think about just making these kind of technology unfortunately will be used to analyze a lot of video footage, even outside of like sports games. So how do we kind of draw the line between ethical boundaries of what should we enable our customers to have powers of?
Yeah.
And where do we say like, no, actually, although you're my customer, we can't really help you do that. And it is a superpower that now this technology startups, private companies can have.
Yeah.
Right. But it's really hard to say no to, let's say, U.S. government or anyone asking for these kind of superpowers. So
yeah,
how do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. On the commercial front, we've, done the hard thing of saying no to certain customers that we know that we wouldn't be proud of powering. There are certain, type of content that we don't want our team members to be exposed of, nor we don't want it to surface more out in the internet or help power surface more. So that's something I guess that comes from like the founders. But with the government, I think being one of the first to help power like video understanding at large scale, our belief is that we can share our learnings, the limitations and our concerns to the government. But at the end of the day, maybe this is maybe I'm not like answering your question directly, but I think there is a need to like trust the leaders that we've elected. And as a company, our goal is to make sure the government has the latest and the greatest technology around video understanding and what's possible and what's not possible. And trust that they will use it to safeguard this nation and democracy, right? So like that's the position that we've been taking, and we're extremely careful about who we work with in that regards.
Switching gears a little bit, so as you know, industry's like changing so rapidly. Almost it's not even a joke when people say, in the field of AI, every month feels like a year of evolution. So, what has changed in terms of the roadmap? What are you thinking in 2026? What does the future look like for TwelveLabs in 2026?
Yeah. So for TwelveLabs, I think what we've done a good job is like starting with the mission and vision that's like truly long horizon. And I think for us, it's really matter of, so our research roadmap and product roadmap isn't changing rapidly, rather, because we think that like what we're building is just fundamentally needed to understand videos. But I think pace at which and the scale at which we go about introducing these, new lines of product and models, that is changing, right? So we're mostly focused on like how do we get there faster, how do we do it bigger, but also now that I think we're seeing that with Gemini 3, how like fully integrated, like all the way down from chips to like models and an application could be very powerful. I think we don't build our own chips, but we have our own inference infrastructure, the models, the interfaces. Now we've gathered a lot of feedback and data from all sorts of different use cases. I think we're really excited about adding a couple vertical applications that could be very interesting for our customers. Yeah.
Nice. We talked briefly before. We've been always kind of discussing how to scale your team. And also talked about like having 70 research scientists and engineers. How do you think about building out the team? One can argue San Francisco is the headquarters of global AI, but you also do a lot of R&D out of South Korea, like similar to how Delight AI does things. So for the founders who are watching, how should one think about where to build their hub, especially when their companies are so focused on AI?
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate because we understand Korea very well, and it's home. It's not generally applicable to a lot of founders, I don't think. But the way I think about just Korea in general is there are incredibly talented researchers, right? But what they don't have is the compute infrastructure and the experiences of training these kind of models and seeing it, make impact in the industry, right? Very similar to like, what Sandberg did too, right? In the early days. How do we connect research to scaling to product that makes impact in global markets? So we're, kind of borrowing your playbooks a little bit. But on the research side. So we'll continue to invest heavily in attracting the best research talent. And my goal is to put Korea like on the map when it comes to multimodal video understanding. What Silicon Valley does really well is building this infrastructure that can train, right, large models and be able to serve enterprises that will send us, petabytes worth of data. So marrying the two uniquely different talents together is what I'm focused on, and it's been working really well for TwelveLabs.
Nice. So you built TwelveLabs into one of the most respected video AI companies in the world. We're very excited about that. But if you think about the next few years down the road, what does a success look like for TwelveLabs? Kind of what's in your mind? What is the vision going forward?
Yeah, I guess this could kind of bleed into like how like leaders should think about their business. But for TwelveLabs, there are a couple things, like very specific things that we're working on. So in terms of tech and research, we will find it very successful if we solve the long-term context and memory layer, right? Because right now, some of the searches that we're doing, you're able to search a content library for a certain query, right? But we don't yet have a system that actually builds long-term memory around your content library, and that involves not just models but also just heavy engineering around building the ontology on top of customers' archives, and this thing needs to constantly be updated, right? Just like we have short-term memory, long-term memory, short-term context, and these are all kind of inner workings of how we make decisions, right? So that is something that we will find very successful. In terms of like longer success, we see a lot of like text tokens being generated, and I personally think that we're actually forming like a new economy where it's, the underlying data has been text tokens. Now, it would be incredible if 12Labs can bring an overwhelming amount of quote unquote video tokens into the economy. And our goal is to index the world's video data,
Yep.
and bring value into this new economy, which could be, I know we talk about like circular deals happening, but then what you should take notice of is like, the players are like providing value and generating revenue, but we just need to jack up the revenue scale. I think we've done a good job on doing that based on text tokens. Video modality can add, bigger revenue to the new, I guess, economy.
Nice. Almost reminds me of the early Google's mission was to organize world's information
Yeah.
at your fingertips or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's try to organize, index the world's video information. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I mean, you work with a lot of enterprises out there, public, private, and
Yeah.
government. What is some of the things like the largest misconception that you bump against that you think it's like the leaders of these organizations should rethink how they think about AI, or even specific could be related to your own business?
Yeah. I think a lot of enterprises are now starting to work with, different types of models. I think it took us a while to understand that, like, what does this like shift really means, right? So I think we've had a bunch of data, right? And then we would put it into like a traditional database, right? And then we would build like services on top of these, databases. Now what we've created is like, it's actually, databases are important, but your raw data now has, this semantic layer that captures a lot of, nuanced meanings. And I think like we've kind of generalized too quickly in thinking that like this semantic layer across different modalities, different use cases are all kind of similar, but they are very disjointed, right? So there is this semantic layer for your PDFs, but also image and video, and it's very hard to operate with this like disjointed semantic layers. And I think, we try to solve everything with a single model. Now, we're adopting, different models and figuring out how to stitch them together into building something more robust. So I think that is one thing that you should probably think about. It's almost never like this or that, right? It's usually like and second, we've seen this like, iconic company called Intel just almost, tank, right? So like this new kind of wave, like I think all enterprises, especially if you're a leader in your industry, you should have this like awareness that like that could change very quickly. And it also presents an enormous amount of opportunity. And I think I previously said it, like this technology is almost rule bending, right? Meaning like economy is being reshaped, and there's always a new player that could embrace this technology faster than you. So for leaders, it's really about not like just gaining efficiency of what you do today, but like forming your own opinions and, verified by, hopefully you have, technical leaders that understands the bigger trend, but like really reading where this tech is going and trying to map out what is my company doing like down the road with this like new technologies being introduced. Like what role is my company serving in like pumping value into this new system. I think that's hard to do, but like the easiest way for you to do or start executing is like making sure your data and your people are getting pre-warmed for this agentic world.
So I'd like to kind of wrap up the episodes with a little bit on the more on the personal note,
Yeah.
what we call the human prompt. So you ready?
I don't know.
We'll see.
Okay.
Find out. All right. If you had access to this one ultimate all-knowing Gen AI or LLM, could be video model, free of hallucinations or privacy concerns, you can use this to make your life easier or better in some kind of a shape or form. Let's say with your personal life, what would your one sentence prompt be?
Yeah, personal life. You know, John, this person, Ken Kim, like
Yeah, yeah.
in our board, he's telling me because he's seen me like go through struggles and like he's of given me an advice that you'll be a better CEO if you're a good husband. I think it's like now that I think about it, like I think that's right. I think it goes deeper than just being a good husband. So if I had an all-knowing, very capable agent or super intelligence, I would like to ask it, right? Like, hey, these are some of the things that I do. This is how I allocate my time today, and these are some of my struggles. Like, how do I be a better husband? And I think like that has downstream effect of how I run my business, how I communicate, because I would need to, you know, get a lot of time to be to be a good husband. I think. I mean, I think ultimately, I think I think that would probably have the biggest impact on me.
Wow, not the answer I expected,
Really?
which is great. I have actually one more question.
Yeah.
Another close friend investor asked me this question earlier. And, it's really hard to be intellectually honest about some of these questions because one is partly is predicting the future, but two is like,
Because you don't know.
and also like our incentives are somewhat misaligned
Yeah.
to how to answer this question in an intellectually honest way. It's like 3 to 5 years from now, let's just pick 5. What happens to the job market? Do you think we'll have more jobs, less jobs? What do you think will happen?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all kind of know the answer to
You
that.
do? What's your answer?
But we just are afraid of saying it, I think, a little bit. You know, I appreciate drawing the analogy of like industrial revolution to whatever we see today. And you can abstract it and say like these capable agents are like a new tool, but we are talking about like super intelligence, where once you have a system that we quote unquote call super intelligence, it'll probably surpass like us in every single way, including creativity, I think. If that's the case, that is now different from industrial revolution, right? Where we were able to unlock a lot of creativity through these tools. And I think, we're not there yet, but we are already seeing like this movement of capital and wealth from, working, hardworking individuals to like a certain few players, right? That's pretty clear, I think. So I think it'll go through a phase of maybe like fewer jobs, and then as a whole, this would have to involve like us really thinking about what can humans like uniquely do, right? Because I don't think we've had a serious conversation around that. Like, and I think this tech will probably help us understand who we are better, because like we need to know like what we are uniquely good at, what we are uniquely capable at, to do something unique that can't be displaced.
It's interesting. It's like the market competition too.
Yeah.
Until a serious competitor shows up, you think you're just good in every single possible way.
Right.
And I think for the first time in human history, we have a serious competitor that actually may become, or almost already in many different ways, smarter than us and more capable than us. So
Yeah, I think we were like wrong about a lot of things, right? I think we both would have been very would have laughed it away maybe 10 years ago that there would be an AI system that can code better than your mid-level, senior level engineers, or there is an AI system that can, generate 10-second video clip better than humans can, or an AI system that can understand vast amounts of video and quickly give you a highlight of your archive. But like we have all of that now, right? So.
Yep. So future is exciting, folks.
No, I think it is truly exciting, but like I think as a humanity, we also need to be challenged a little bit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jae, that was it. Thank you so much for joining us today. From the philosophy and some of the stories behind how you started TwelveLabs and your vision of the future with the video superintelligence and a lot more of intelligence being built around this multimodal and sensory part of the intelligence. It's been fascinating to learn your perspective. And of course, we will be cheering for you. And then hopefully we'll continue to see TwelveLabs popping up here and there across the industry. So yeah, thank you again for being here. Learned a lot.
Thanks for having me, John.